Howdy, neighbors. Well, I have my solar oven out. I just put it out a few minutes ago to preheat it. I picked up a couple of the 2 for $5 Big Macs at McDonald's yesterday, so I like them, so I'm going to reheat them and have Big Macs again today. I'm sitting up here on top of this hill. Oop. One of my closest neighbors yesterday looks like they're leaving. It's a pretty nice spot up here on the hill. That's the highway that's Highway 62. Headed more into California. Robert told me from down the hill last night he looked up here and he couldn't see the van because it was the same color as the sky. The only way he could see the van was my chrome wheels. Anyway, I thought that I would discuss my property a bit more since people don't they have a lot of questions, I should say. Okay, let's see. My property. It's that direction up there, about 750 miles away in Northern California. It's south of Redding, about 50 miles or so. The closest Walmart is in Red Bluff, 23 miles away. The closest town is also where my post office comes from, and that is also 23 miles away, and that's Corning. I have 3.36 acres. It's fully fenced. I had it surveyed like the week after I bought the place. I have my own well. I have my own septic system, which was sized for a 3-bedroom house. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, manufactured quote-unquote home. It was created in 1967, people. When I bought it, it was already worth nothing. But it was a place that I could keep a roof and walls over the heads of my children, and at the time, my wife. I had 2 bulldozers spend 3.5 days creating the landscape that's there now. And I've since planted over 70 fruit, nut, and citrus trees, and it's all organic. I have large garden areas because I had 3 semi-loads of topsoil brought in for the garden area. I have water lines to just about every single tree on the place. I also have flowers and herbs and ponds. I have 3 ponds up near the house. Well, 2 are right at the house, and 1 is up by the front gate, and then I also have a seasonal one that's down at the bottom of the property that fills up when we get rain, if we get rain. I get asked You know, things like, well, you have water. Is it, you know, do you get your water from town? And I look at them and go, yeah, we got a pipe that runs 23 miles from the nearest town to bring me water. But no, I have my own well. When it was drilled to 465, and the well was put in, the pump itself was put in about in the 300-foot range, someplace like that, 280. And 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, I had the pump replaced. So, and the first pump lasted at least 15 years. It's a homeowners association. That's the worst thing that everybody says. It's the homeowners association. They can't stand. Well, my homeowners association dues are $65 a month, and I have not had any problems with them. Oh, while I'm sitting here talking to you, the lady that is at my property, Louise, said we got rain with a bunch of exclamation marks, because we haven't had much rain again this year. So, let's see. The house itself is basically beyond help, unless you want to spend a bunch of money and time and effort and work on it. You could bring it back to life. Part of the reason why I have it still on the property and I haven't sold it to somebody for scrap is that it takes up 1,200 square feet of school tax. And when you develop property in California, one of the things that you have to do is you go to the permit department and you tell them, I want to get a permit for a 1,200 square foot home. And they say, okay, well, the first thing you do is you go to the school board and you tell them that you're going to put a 1,200 square foot home in, and then they bill you. And you have to pay that bill before you can go get a building permit to put a house on the property or develop anything. I believe I paid roughly $2,800 just for that 20 plus years ago. So that's a huge chunk of change that's taking up space, which is a benefit for the next person that comes in. And I mean, I'm guessing the school tax would probably be more than what it would cost to pay somebody to haul the thing out of there. You could probably find a scrapper to give you a decent price too. So that's why that's still on there. The rest of the place just fell into disrepair because I gave up. I was done. About 8 years ago, I hit a wall and decided I was done. I just had it. I had no help anymore. It was just me, and I decided it was time to move on. Let's see, what else can I think of with this place? I don't know. I should write down all the questions people ask me. We get snow once in a blue moon. We get rain once in a blue moon. It's a really dry area. That's one of the things that everybody complains about. But it's way beautiful. I mean, I would say that 85% of the time, it is an absolutely beautiful place to live. The weather is perfect, except for a couple hours in the middle of the day when it gets really hot. And the property is up at the 835-foot elevation, so it definitely cools off at night most of the time. Oh yeah, everything about my place is organic. Other than the first year to 2 years, I did use some Roundup in a couple of spots. Mostly I used the stuff for vines to get rid of poison oak, because that is the one thing on the property that's a pain in the butt occasionally, as Louise found out this year. Other than that, after about 2 years, I never used that stuff again. I've used only organic fertilizers when I could afford them, and once in a blue moon, I was able to fertilize maybe 10 of my trees because I could afford it. So, for all intents and purposes, the property is absolutely organic. Raising my kids, when we had the big gardens, they loved veggies and stuff, so they would just go out to the garden, and matter of fact, I had to stop letting them eat peas and things like that because they ate so much of them. Like, there was nothing worth saving. Couldn't even get a meal out of the dang things because the kids ate them all, which was just fine with me. That's the way it's supposed to be. But even during those times, I had very little help from my soon-to-be ex-wife. So, you know, it's going to take a family, I think. And I'm willing to work with anybody. I just need money to hit the road and somebody reliable enough to make all the payments that need to be made. But it's time, you know. Just what you do when you get old. I mean, I've actually thought about keeping the place and just going back to it and living there and using YouTube to help me make money and add to the place. But again, it's not something a guy with a bad back can do by himself. And I'm tired of being all by myself. Sure is hard to find the right partner, though. Took me 5 years the last time. I'm up to 8 years now. And I still would like to put the money into the van to where I can trust it 1,000% and not worry about it and go where I want to go. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon unless I sell the property. Plus, of course, there's a sexy rich woman out there that wants to support me. The only things that contact me usually are college girls looking for a sugar daddy, I think. Somebody on their way out. Alright, I don't know what else to tell you about the property. My electric bills during the winter time when I'm not pumping water are about less than $50 a month. In the summertime, they're, because the house is such a uninsulated refrigerator or oven during the summers, I have to run the cooler, which will freeze you out. But the electric bill with the cooler and the water pump for the well runs almost $200 a month. What else? I don't know. I guess you guys can ask me whatever questions you need to ask about it, and I'll try to answer them. hopefully, hopefully this covers all the basics of what my property is. All right, I guess that's enough for now. Go see what the temperature is on this before I say bye. Yeah, it's almost 210. All right. Y'all take care. Later.